we wanted to touch upon making a decision where to attend. I think it's about junior year in high school, you start to figure out where you're going to go. You're filling out some FAFSAs just to see where scholarship money that might be available to you, what kind of loans, what kind of funding, if you fall into that category. So when you do that, it's real easy to get caught up, right, in the excitement of college. So some things to think about while you're doing this is, 2-year versus 4-year. 2-year schools are a great place if you're not sure what you want to do, or maybe, you're looking into a program that doesn't require a 4-year education, right? So typically in a 2-year school, you're going to get your associate's degree. A lot of them do offer some really great certification programs as well. And some of them offer some technical skill sets that you can get. I know down at ECC here, downtown, they do a contractor's certification where you can learn if you want to be a foreman or a supervisor on a construction site. It'll give you some extra skill set to go through and try to earn some, some accreditations for that. So when you go to a 4-year program, right, you're going to earn your bachelor's degree. And really, sometimes you can go to a variety of different schools. Perhaps there's something you're really interested in, but it's more going to get you onto a direction of that path of where you want to go into. Sean and I both went into the sciences, right? So I attended a 4-year school because I knew I wanted to be in the sciences, and I was able to get all the classes in one institution. Right. So, but that everybody has a different idea of what they'd like to do. You can also start out at a 2-year school and then transfer into a 4-year school. So there's so many options out there. And if you're somebody who's undecided or just want to test out a couple of different things, sometimes a 2-year school can be really helpful. Or perhaps you're paying through school, right? You're going to work and pay as you go. To get some of those electives out of the way, a 2-year school can be a really great alternative to try to help keep some of those costs down. Here in New York, we have a great state school program. So there's always the difference of, do you go to a state school or do you go to a private school? Again, that's kind of a personal decision. You can always weigh out the costs of going to each. There can be significant pricing differences between them. So it's good to talk that through. Some of the private schools offer more robust scholarship and grant programs. So that is something to consider as well. But again, when you're going to schools and you're going to see what they might offer, most of them will give you a package upfront, so you have an idea of what the costs are going to be. And there are some new state tuition programs. Somewhere, if you go to a state school in New York and you stay here for an extended period of time, they will cover that tuition. And I know there's also the Say Yes program in New York as well. And then there's always, what do you want to do be above and beyond, right? So there's masters. You can go to MBA, PhD, MD. As to our previous slide, when we talked about loans, remember there's no federal loans for these types of programs for the most part. When you go into medical, it can be a little bit different. But again, so just think about what kind of debt am I going to be taking on? And some employers will pay for part of a graduate program, or if you go on to a master's. Particularly MBAs are very popular. So they will help you with some sort of tuition reimbursement. It's really specific to the company, but that's something else to investigate when you get further down that line. So there are some really great things to think about when you are going to college and trying to figure out what's your next path.
Yeah, and I think, Angela, that one thing I always recommend for students applying to schools is to apply to multiple schools, both 2-year, 4-year, state, private. Because a lot of times people go, well, I know that I'm going to go to Niagara University and it's a private school, and that might be true. That might be where all of your family went and where you absolutely want to go. But there's some benefit to applying to 2 years and 4-year schools, public and private, because all these colleges are competing for the same pool of students, right? So and there is a system that through the FAFSA that they know that if you've applied to one school or 8 schools, and they know that you have choices. You could go to Buffalo State for less tuition, or you could go to, as Angela mentioned, you could go to Niagara Community College and get your associate's degree and then attend a different school. So I would say, make sure you apply to multiple schools. It's an online application now. It's easy. I think you can do up to 10. There's no harm in that. And then you can actually start to use some of the offers that you get against the other schools if you really want to go there. And if you're a really attractive student from a standpoint of your resume, they may change their financial aid offer. So I think that's just something to consider.